talk. The name of that one, the Cramps, right here on the Tony Jones Show. Before that, we heard from local legging. What the heck is a legging? I'm wearing leggings under my trousers this evening. Local legend Mark Cutler off of the album Red, Just a Paycheck Away. The name of that one. You are tuned into the Tony Jones Show online at tonyjones.org. That's right, I am a one-man organization on Facebook, facebook.com/The Tony Jones Show, and on Twitter at Tony Jones NRI. In studio this evening, my alternative media roundtable. Alicia is here from the Raw Sex Podcast on Blog Talk Radio, and attorney, two-time congressional candidate Mike Gardiner is here from the Mike Gardiner Show on 990 WBOB.com. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for hanging out with me this evening. I want to talk a little bit. I want to switch gears, as we often do, because I have the attention span of a mosquito.
And spontaneity is the best.
I want to switch gears. I want to talk a little bit about boycotts, because boycotts seem to be the hot thing right now. So I'm looking at golocalprov.com, one of our media partners, and they list 5 businesses that are facing boycotts locally here. Hobby Lobby, Chick-fil-A, which isn't even open yet, Sitco, John DePietro, my media partner over at my other gig, one of my other gigs, the Doubletree Suites in Alston, and Hobby Lobby. So and I believe also Alex and Ani is being boycotted. So I can think of, off the top of my head, 6 boycotts, and I'm thinking about me personally, and I want to know you guys' opinion. If you, Alicia, say you pulled up to a Chick-fil-A, you were starving, you wanted a chicken sandwich or whatever Chick-fil-A sells. There's people outside protesting, people outside boycotting. You know of the boycott. Does that keep you from doing business, or are you, I'm thinking personally, I mean, unless it's something really nasty, this is silly. I mean, I don't care.
I actually spoke about the Hobby Lobby situation on my show a few weeks ago, because I believe that is all based around the fact that the owner has his religious views, and so he does not want to provide certain types of birth control for his employees. Right. And so obviously birth control has to do with sex education, and therefore I found it important to speak about. On the other hand, I had just left Hobby Lobby and blew like $40 on crafts for my daughter and I to go home and do together. So the reality is, I don't think that, I mean, boycotting creates attention to the cause. Is it ever going to deflect me from going and doing what I need to do? No. I need something. That place can supply me with that something. Right. I mean, unless it was like they have, child labor,
right, that's what I'm thinking.
Or,
rape,
crazy. Or, something so like sex trafficking, like Hobby Lobbies, hiding young kids in the pony beads or something,
However, I mean, we have our own smut district right down the street from this very studio. Sex trafficking it's not even alleged, sex trafficking has taken place. I mean, I drive by there to get to the studio, cars around the building. There's no official boycott, but that's not keeping people away, unfortunately. Mike, what do you think on this?
I think Alicia kind of expressed my attitude to it too. I had a thought about boycotting someone the other day. I can't remember who it was, but it's not a big thing to me. I mean, I understand people like to join churches and one way or another, so they and that requires a little bit of piety, and that requires emotion, and so in order to get your people fired up, you got to kind of make them religious about,
get them all lathered up.
You got to get them lathered up. You got to get them up to like a posse kind of mentality, and you have to target someone. It's just not. I don't pay much attention to the boycotts. I really actually pay almost none. I think I wouldn't. If there was a picket line, would I cross a picket line? I think I might be more inclined to respect the picket line than I would be inclined to worry about a particular boycott. But it's not that I'm not a reactionary. I'm not like, I am going to Chick-fil-A
Just because.
Yeah, I mean that's not me either. I mean, I think that I think Chick-fil-A got into trouble over marriage equality.
Right.
It was something to
Their owner was very outspoken, and now I think he's sort of been, the board has reminded him that they're a corporation. I think, and he's been kind of pushed over. You're not the sole proprietor here, so. We have we're looking at the shareholder interest here, so it turns out we don't discriminate, and we're not going to take a big marriage equality position. I think that's the way they went with that.
I saw the uprising. I never really tuned into how it was resolved, and that's a tough area for me because where I kind of stand politically and religiously, and they're a little conflicting with my whole mission of sex education. It's not easy. Sex education is not well accepted, is not easily accepted. I mean, I've had people totally just turn their back on me in the middle of a conversation.
You'd be surprised. I was teaching catechism and one night, and I was talking to 14-year-old kids who were getting ready for confirmation, and they have the religious workbook and this and that, but I was having a very real conversation with them about what it is to be a young adolescent and the drives that you have, the feelings that you have, the insecurities that are often driving you, the desire to, not be a boy anymore, not be seen as a boy anymore, the desire to be seen as a woman, not just, or as a desire, or as a woman, not just a little girl, and also the whole idea, that pressure. Am I mate worthy? I mean, whether you conceptualize it that way or not, you have this deep,
your instinct, your natural.
What if I'm not mate worthy? And so there's all this pressure that is going to lead you. Not to mention the urges, the drive,
your hormones.
Yeah. So I was talking about that stuff, so that they could understand it, conceptualize it, articulate it. And also, see, if you understand like a fear or a desire that could get you into trouble or prevent you from functioning, or if you can understand what it is, you can set it aside, so you don't get in trouble, so it doesn't cause you a problem. I mean,
I wouldn't say it that way. I mean, if you have some type of desire, we're going to go with sexual desire because that's my expertise, that you feel.
A lot of us are really good in that too, by the way. Sexual desire. We're all experts in that.
I wouldn't say that, but if you have a sexual desire that makes you have issues to the point where you cannot function in your public life, going to work, going to school, maintaining friendships, et cetera, maybe you're depressed, you're stressed, you're anxious, that is not something that you can just set aside because somebody has brought it to your attention.
Oh, no, I'm just talking about micro in the car, I mean, your first date, a first date for a young man, I mean, he might really want to, be more aggressive than is appropriate on a first date. A girl might have her own things going on. Maybe she's doing the same thing for whatever. But just to be able to understand in that moment that, you can set that aside. I mean, when you get into very complicated things, but for kids, they're facing their first time alone in a car, or their first time alone on the front steps of someone's house.
That's why sex education should be huge in schools.
Well, I agree with you.
But and see, parents
what
should
I want to tell you is that I'm a Catholic.
So am I.
Teaching catechism, and most people probably think that Catholics don't believe in sex education. In my Catholic upbringing, I've had a lot of sex education, tons of it. When I was in 5th grade, we saw a film that was wow.
He's still recovering from it.
Let me tell you, I think they probably should have waited till the 8th grade on that one.
Should have waited till your honeymoon for that.
I had a pretty liberal Catholic education, and I just wanted to say that. I wonder if people think that they say, the Catholic, the religious, say they don't believe in sex education. In my experience,
I'm gonna recap a little something there. Yes, okay, so Catholics may have sex education, I walked into St. Anne's Church the other day, and they had these pamphlets, and one of them was pornography, and the other one was sex and contraception. So their idea of sex ed was, here are these pamphlets, drop off 30 cents in the little candle box over there so we can, make up for what we paid for them. And I took them because obviously sex ed is my thing, and I was like, I'm curious to know what they have to say. Basically, they didn't say anything that was going to support our youth in a positive manner. It was their idea of sex ed. Don't use birth control.
Coitus interruptus.
Yeah, don't have sex. Sex is beautiful when you're married. Great that those are your ideas, that those are the ideas of the church. I love that. I support that. The reality is this is 2014, and 99.9% of our teens don't give
But every institution
poopity-doopity about that.
Every institution has that level where it's almost disabled by its need to assert certain policies.
But that is not sex education.
No, it's not. And but I think in my experience, in reality, I got a lot more sex education than that, even as a Catholic. Although I went to a fairly liberal Catholic grammar school. I guess, I think that's probably the truth of it. It was in the 70s.
I can't tell you how many Catholic people I know that went to Catholic school and are emotionally and sexually psychologically damaged from the things that they heard and said and were told about touching themselves. Do I get to say the technical term?
Yeah, actually, we never received anything like that. The only thing I recall really, I went to LaSalle Academy for a couple of years, and I didn't get kicked out or anything. My brother had a reason to leave, and he wasn't kicked out either, but he had a reason to leave, and I wanted to go to school in a co-ed situation. And so I always wanted to go to Cranston East. I mean, it was a good school, and I wanted to know kids from my own town, and I felt like I was meeting more kids from North Providence and Smithfield, and I just didn't feel that connected to it at LaSalle. So nothing against the school, but the only thing I remember about LaSalle Academy before it was co-ed back in the 70s was, there was a little, tendency towards homophobic humor. There was always
there still is, unfortunately, in a lot of places.
There was conversation about, but of course there was a lot of conversation that there was a feeling that some of the Christian brothers were, opportunistic. Would we say?
That's a classy way to put that.
Interested, but I never had sometimes I wonder if that was just rumors, and because I never had a problem, I didn't experience, and frankly, it didn't really come up. We just went to school and we had our classwork. I remember there was one brother who made waves with us because he told us to be, when we were taking a shower, to pay a little bit more attention with hygiene and washing the area. So of course everybody was like, "Oh, that's because he wants it,"
Oh, that's horrible.
As long as he didn't come in and demonstrate.
That is so horrible that's where our society goes with things.
I've never really quite understood the shattered victims of. I know that we had one. We had a gubernatorial candidate who said he was abused and molested. I, very fortunately, was never had any problems. But I also always had my own natural instinct. I've always had my own basic instinct that all human relationships, except family and the closest friends or that special person, are supposed to be arm's length. And let me make a correction.
When I was saying that are psychologically, emotionally damaged by, the going to Catholic schools, I didn't necessarily mean that they were raped or molested by the clergy. What I was implying was the type of sex education that the Catholic Church tries to push on these children, that self-loving, we'll use that term, that self-loving
will send you to hell.
Yeah, or your penis will fall off, or
I never heard that one.
Or God is watching you.
More like don't ask, don't tell. I really don't think it comes up. I think the idea about the Catholic attitude that I've ever experienced in Catholic, I have never ever in my Catholic life had somebody talk to me about masturbation one way or the other. I think it was always kind of don't ask, don't tell. The most recent thing I heard from a Catholic priest, and I thought it was actually very good, he said that lust is a sin of ignorance that occurs because you confuse a person with a thing. And I agree with that. That's he said. And I think that was the most. That would crystallize. I think most of what the point of Catholicism is